Now, joining us now, we've got Kenn Rodriguez, sports reporter from the Valencia County News Bulletin, and the reason we're talking to him is the Alamogordo Tiger football team opens up their season on Friday night against the Valencia Jaguars. Second straight season the Tigers have opened up against Valencia. Last year it was up in Valencia County. And Kenn, first off, how you doing today, man?
Good, how you doing?
Fantastic. Happy to have you with us. And well, it's a Valencia team that maybe was a little bit disappointing last year. I think a lot of people went in the year thought maybe they were going to be a 5A, maybe a dark horse title contender, and they ended up, I think, around 500 last season.
Yeah, they had some injuries during the year, and it's always an issue with depth up there at Valencia. You know, it's kind of out of the way, and it's in kind of the unincorporated county part of the county, as opposed to Los Lunas and Belen, which are, in the middle of town. So they always have problems with depth, and I think that kind of bit them, towards the end of the season, because they weren't quite as strong as they started out.
This year's group, well, first off, new head coach Colin Justice, who had a ton of success out at Clayton. I think won back-to-back state titles out there with the Yellow Jackets. He comes in and takes over the 5A program at Valencia. What's the excitement level, and what's the feeling around Coach Justice taking over this program?
Well, I think it's it seems like the excitement is there, but they lost a huge group of seniors from last year that were not only they didn't just have experience together at the high school level. A lot of them had been playing since their Yaffle days, so they were a very tight group. They were a very talented group. And they graduated just a bunch of those guys. They graduated the entire backfield, which was probably pound for pound the fastest backfield in the state. If you just want to go purely off of speed, they had three guys on there that were on their track relay teams that won state titles as juniors. There was a little mishap this year, and they weren't able to repeat. There was a mishap in the prelims at track, so they didn't repeat this year. But they were just, they were loaded with speed, and Garrett Gibson, their quarterback, was very, a very steady hand back there, and good passer. He's out at West Texas A&M now. But Josh Burbank, Nate Nash, Callum Claren. Those guys were just, they were just loaded with speed, and it was basically a thing of who to get the ball to. And so they're, this year's team obviously not quite as much speed or experience. So there's obviously a little bit of concern, which is justified. But Coach Justice has seen a lot of the success at his previous two stops. He came in from Texas, went to Capitan, took them to a state title game, won a state championship. Same thing up to Clayton, made a couple of appearances. I believe last year they were runner-up, but they won the state title under him the year before. And so I think there's excitement for the future. This year is a little bit of a question mark, but one good thing is that their numbers are up in terms of getting the youngsters out. So this may be a transitional period, but Valencia could come out looking very good within a couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. And something else, they bring in Coach Justice's system, so it's a little bit of different. Last year it was maybe a bit more of a spread look from the Jaguars. This year it'll be more of kind of a double wing, and they'll focus. Not that they didn't focus on the run last year, they're definitely going to focus on the run this year, right?
Oh yeah, but they're going to be more of a power team this year. As last year they were, not that they were a finesse running team, but like you said, they would spread it out, and they were a spread option team. So they were trying to kill you with speed. This year it's going to probably be more smash mouth football.
Yeah, and that's certainly something we know the Tigers had some issues with last year, so we'll see how they handle it the first game of the season against a smash mouth type of team. I think you did mention a second ago, but taking over for Gibson at quarterback, who's going to be their signal caller up in Valencia this year?
Senior Fermin Lucero is the quarterback. He was the backup last year. Didn't see very much time at all, and I know there was a little bit of grumbling that towards the end of the season that they maybe should have gotten him out, to get him a little bit of varsity experience. But all reports are that he's solid. Coach Justice is very happy with him, has a lot of trust in him. He did really well at some of the camps over the summer. He was one of the breakout guys for the NM Preps camp that was down in Las Cruces. So at Signal Caller they're pretty strong.
And running back, you say they lose a lot from last year. Who are they going to be dependent on this year to run the rock?
Well, that's kind of it's kind of a work in progress right now. They're working out a bunch of guys, hoping to get a solid option for the option. So at this point they're still that's one of the things that they're still figuring out. Same thing with the line. They've got some young guys both on offense and defense that they're working out, and it's going to probably be a work in progress through the pre-district season for the Jaguars.
And if they do throw the football, mainly tight ends, are they going to have much in terms of options of wideouts, or is it going to be guys on misdirection plays, probably trying to run off the offensive line?
That's a good question. It seems like it's probably going to be a lot of play action and, like you said, a lot of stuff off the line. They don't have. They lost some guys, and they're actually one of the guys that they had at tight end, Isaac Lewis, that was a kind of a big target for them last year. They've switched him to the backfield, and so they're testing that out. And he may take over back there as a fullback, or they may switch him back to tight end depending on how things work out. Like you said, they're still kind of when I talked to them, they were still running the very basic plays. Of course, that was about a week into fall practice. So, depending on how quickly they were able to develop from there, which I'm sure the coaches are trying to push them to get more than 6 or 7 plays under their belt for the opener this weekend. But that's kind of that's another one of the things that is kind of in process for the Jags right now.
Yeah, and Lewis is definitely a load, 6'2" and 240 pounds, so wherever they decide to use him at, he's going to be a heck of a player for them this year. Defensively, what is Coach Justice saying about his defensive group this year?
They're looking to do a little bit of a change up. It's more of the Chicago Bears old, the 46 that they ran back in the 80s. It's very similar to that. They're calling it a bear front, which obviously is, for the Bears. But again, it's kind of a thing where they were very strong at they were very strong at linebacker last year, and so that's a concern this year. And obviously developing the line, because they lost a couple of guys that are they're going Division II. Including Nathan Jolly, who is, obviously the son of Coach Kevin Jolly from last year. So, they're kind of developing those squads, and Coach seemed to have some confidence that they were going to have their stuff together. But defensively, it's going to be a little less aggressive, I would imagine. At least in the pre-district, because they're still going to be figuring out their assignments and whatnot. But once they get that defense in line, it could be a difference maker for them.
What's the feeling about the expectations for this group this year? You talk about them losing as much as they did. They're in a very tough district. Centennial, of course, is sure to be good again this year. Belen and Los Lunas is probably going to be better than they were last season. What's the feeling about what this team can do this year?
I think that the coaching staff seems to be very optimistic. I think they know what they're up against. Again, like I said, being able to draw the numbers that they were for summer workouts, and now the numbers that they've got once school kicked in. I think they're probably feeling a little better about the future, which makes them hopefully make them relax a little bit about the present a little bit. I think they're not expecting to challenge for a district championship like they have in years past. That's just the reality of the situation. But I think they're looking at themselves as kind of a dark horse, and if they can stay healthy and kind of stay, focused, they could surprise some teams at the end, and they could return to the playoffs. I think that's their hope at this point is to just be able to put themselves in a position where they are able to do something like that and continue their season into the postseason.
Yeah, and in terms of them competing for a district, it may say a lot more about the teams in the district than to say about them when you look at how good Centennial and Belen this year. Are they going to be a little bit down from where they were last year?
On paper, Belen should be down, but you never know with Coach Lerma. I mean, he's been able to accomplish a lot of amazing things that you maybe wouldn't have thought possible since he's gotten here. And so, with him at the helm, all bets are off in terms of where they are. On paper, though, they lost just as much as Valencia, if not more. I mean, they lost a 3-year starter, quarterback. They had just reloaded their running back core, and they were one of the top running teams in the state. So, I think in terms of the district race, Centennial's definitely got a leg up on everybody, and they're going to be. I mean, they're a state title contender for all intents and purposes. So, for one of the other teams to kind of catch them on a bad night, that's basically what it's going to take. But this is such a weird district that that's something that could happen with the travel and all that and all that. And then, like you said, just the variables like having an experienced coach like Coach Lerma and just having up and coming teams like your Los Lunas team and even the teams down south apparently are improving too. So it should be interesting. But I think at the end of the day, it's basically Centennials to win, but they're still going to have to go out and win it on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're certainly looking forward to Friday night and seeing what kind of game we get between the Tigers and the Jaguars. We're hoping for a little bit of a better game than last year. Last year, the Tigers opened up with a pretty big victory, but I think we're expecting the Jaguars to be a tough go of it at Tiger Stadium coming up on Friday. We'll look forward to talking to Kenn again next week. He'll give us the lowdown on the Los Lunas Tigers, who the Tigers will be on the road against in Week 2. Kenn, really appreciate your time today. Thanks.
No problem. Thanks again.